It's Russell back with Gwinnett Lawns in beautiful. Oh, that's right. Look at that blue sky. Atlanta, Georgia. Today is July the 20th, 2023. And on today's video, I'm gonna start out with the question. Do your customers take care of you? So what I mean by that is I have two customers that, and only two, that will always have me water or Gatorade when I get to their yard. They pretty much, yeah, they've always done that. One of them leaves me some ice in a cooler and has waters in there, and the other one will put water and Gatorade on the front steps for me. That is just super nice. And yeah, they understand about this heat. So it is going to be the hottest day of the year. It's been the hottest week of the year here in Atlanta. It is going to be, I think, 97 or 98 today. No telling how much the feels like is. It's I'm getting a little bit of a late start. It's 8:15 right now. And to be quite honest, I get really, I'm gonna say, irritated because of this humidity that we have here. And it just, until noon, until 12 o'clock, and that's if the sun's out, okay? If the sun's out, the grass is just wet. And you know what? It's worse because of the dew, because the drops cling to the grass. Whereas if it rained, all right, the rain would just go down in the soil. So the grass is actually wetter, has more actual water volume on the blades than it would be if it had just rained. So it's just something we have to deal with. It's just, oh, it's such a mess. It's horrible. It's horrible. You guys that are, I say I always envy people that are in the flat areas, but people that are in the drier areas, I don't know, maybe West Texas, places like that, that don't have, and I'm going to tell you that the humidity, the dew is worse on Bermuda because the blades are so fine and they're so close together. It's like a spider web. If you've ever seen a spider web in the morning, how it's got all the dew on it. Whereas fescue, because the blades are, it's not as dense and the blades are longer, the droplets of the dew tend to coagulate and then they'll drip down. And it doesn't, because I have a huge fescue yard that I always do first thing in the morning on that route, and it's not as bad as the Bermuda, but generally I like cutting Bermuda, and I think part of the reason is because you can cut it low and it looks nice, and it grows so fast, but not as fast as fescue. But anyway, so I'm going to show you guys the very first yard that I do. It is it gives me a little bit of anxiety because of how tall it's going to be, and these are bi-weekly. I only have a few customers that will actually let you cut the yard weekly. That's just the thing here. You know, it's bi-weekly. People just don't want to pay for weekly service. But anyway, and that's a whole nother video. But the copious amounts of clumped up grass and just mess that it creates. So I have a technique. You know, I'm gonna have to double cut it. You always have to double cut this stuff when it's this wet. The mower just can't process and dry it, obviously. So what I do is I'll cut it and then I'll cut it again. Generally the same direction. I try to do a box pattern. I blow it inward, but this yard, I'm probably gonna just spread it out as best I can, and hopefully there'll be some sun there. And by the time I do the whole yard trim and then go back and blow, Bermuda dries out pretty fast once you cut it. But thank goodness I got that PB 9010T. Oh my goodness. People say that it's too much blower, and the only use it for leaf cleanups. You know, that thing, I can do some super fine, delicate blowing in mulch and things like that. It's just all depends on how much you squeeze the trigger, but I could not do this at all in the wet grass without that blower. An 8010 or a 9010T. I don't know how, well, I know that a steel, what is it, the BR 800? Is that the top of the line one? It has a little bit higher wind speed coming out of the tube, but it's not, if you look at the tubes on the Echo, it's enormous. The volume of air that comes out of that thing is sick. It produces a lot more volume than the steel. And I tried the steel. I did a demo for a day or two. It's okay, but it's not, I need the volume. I wish Echo would make a 1000 because I need more power. Anyway, yeah, that's the question. Do your customers take care of you? Do you have customers that will take care of you? Some maybe give you some snacks and stuff. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to, I have to confess, I made a mistake. I made an error. You know, I tell you always to prepare to make sure everything's gassed up and everything is good to go for in the morning. I just load everything and go. Look at my fuel gauge. Now, half a tank in this that gets 10 miles a gallon, that ain't gonna last long. I intended to unload everything and then go to the gas station yesterday afternoon. I completely forgot. And the gas station is opposite of where I'm going for the first 4 yards, so we're just gonna chance it. Yeah, because I have to put premium in this truck or it knocks like crazy. That's what you get for having a nervous Chevy 350. But anyway, I'm gonna get rolling and I will see you at the, I'm sure, wet and overgrown yard. so been here an hour and 29 minutes, and I wanted to show you after it dries and you hit it with the blower, it just vanishes. There's nothing there, just gone. Whole yards like that. So first question is, why don't I do this yard in the afternoon when it's dry? Well, I used to do that, but that means all the other yards, which are a lot smaller than this, I would have to do in the morning that I normally would do in the afternoon. And the problem is, unless you want to start afternoon time around here, then you are going to be faced with wet yards. But the good thing is, by the time I think I triple cut that. By the time I cut that, cut the backyard, and then go to doing all my trimming and edging, by the time I roll around with the blower, because Bermuda is so fine, it's like powder. You saw how wet and clumpy it was, but I ran over it a couple times, and it reduces it to where it's just tiny. However, it's still wet. Now, I could have gone back with the blower and immediately gotten rid of it, but it would have taken a little bit more time. So I let God's heat and sun do the work for me. So when I go back over with the blower, it's basically it just vanishes. So some of my other yards that only take half hour to do, I will have to go over the blower, over the clumps of grass, because it's wet, because it doesn't have time to dry out as much. But if that grass was dry, okay, let's say I did this at 2 o'clock. If it was dry, what I would have done is I probably would have cut it with the chute blocker closed, and it would have made those nice furrows, and I would have gone over it again, and then I would just either let them dry, or I could open the blocker and run over them a third time really fast, just the furrows. I'm gonna call them furrows, the rows, and it would just vaporize them. I wouldn't even have to hit it with the blower, because it's faster for me to ride around the yard on the mower than it would be to walk with the blower. So, and I had a first. I feel bad. You can see there's a pond right there. So I was weed eating in the back, some tall, heavy weeds, and my weed trimmer caught something and flung it against the house, and I'm like, there's a big old bullfrog. Now, I hadn't seen a bullfrog, well, that close in a long time. And that sucker jumped so high, it didn't kill him. He wasn't happy. You know, that .130 line I use is devastating, and I was pretty much wide open because how thick the weed, it was crabgrass right there. So I hope he's all right. He hopped off into some more weeds. I just let him be. But yeah, part of the help besides the sun is there's a intermittent breeze, so that helps to dry it. But the humidity is let's see. Hey Siri. What's the temperature?
It's about 84 degrees outside.
Not bad. Hey Siri. What's the humidity?
The humidity is currently 67%.
Ooh! Florida. We live in Florida. Yeah, so I actually had, I don't know if you can see my shirt hanging up on the blower. I had to change shirts. I have to do that like every other house. You know, by the time I get to the next house, that shirt will be dry, and then this one will be soaked. So these dry fit shirts are awesome. But, you know, I drink so much water during this time that it's non-stop sweating. But it's all right. We'll be fine. We'll get through it. I just hope we continue to get this breeze. So that's pretty much what I have to face for the next at least 2 hours, because pretty much all my yards are in full sun, so they'll dry. The ones in the afternoon, no problem. They'll be pretty thick and grown up, but I won't have to spend as much time on them. So I average about 12 to 15 extra minutes when it's this thick and the dews on there. In the fall, probably September, October, when it's drier and there's not as much dew on the grass and it's not growing as fast, then I'll kind of go back to my normal time. This yard normally takes me like an hour and 10 minutes to do everything, because I also do the bushes. I did those before I cut. So anyway, yeah, it's what it is. All right, guys, so I don't know if I'm going to add anything to this video. I have a 600-hour review on the Trimstar coming up soon. I've got maybe over a 250-hour review on the Echo 2620T. I think I got over a 300-hour review coming up on the blower. Anyway, some reviews coming up, and I'm going to do some maintenance stuff, and I'm going to go more in depth about the products that I use to keep the mowers rolling. You guys remember my 48 or my 54 Trimstar and the 36 ride I had that I sold to my friend. He's still using those, obviously, zero issues, and it's the maintenance. You know, it's good engineering, but it's also the maintenance and the products that you use. So I will share that more in depth with you guys, because I need to do the hydro fluid and the oil, and I'm going to do an experiment on the mower, on the engine. I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to switch oils, but we're going to do an oil analysis. If you're not familiar with that, I'm going to take a sample and send it to the lab. It'll tell us the condition and the health of the engine and also of the oil. And yeah, it's good. So I'll go more into depth on that. But anyway, if I have something else to add on the video, it'll be next. If not, I'll see you guys on the next one.